Little fun with it too. I'm Pat Morrow, and
this is Jon Brown.
I'm Flora Morrow.
And
I'm Dale Miracle, and this is Radioactive.
Eighth of June. Dogs were edging for a couple.
you wouldn't believe what I had through to get this.
And causing great strife. And causing great strife.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Devote or not.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Radioactive. Tonight's topic, as you can probably tell, is going to be the local folklore and monsters in Ohio. I've got some really interesting stuff for you guys tonight. It's going to be, I think I've got I got two other bits there that I want to play tonight. I'd never realized that there was so much of that stuff in Ohio that was seen here. So, it's going to make it pretty interesting it's going to be pretty interesting to actually hear and know what some of this stuff is. I mean, I heard about the FrogMan, I heard about the GrassMan, of course, I already knew about the Python. And if you listen to that song, before we get into our guest for this evening, there was a connection that I had remembered when I was a kid hearing in a locker room, the high school locker room, that talked about the thing having a chicken head. Well, I don't know if that's exactly what the folklore carries, but it did go after a chicken. You heard that in the song. So anyway, let's introduce our guests for this evening, and there will probably be more joining us as we go along here. You're all welcome to. I've posted the link in the Facebook group. If you want to join in on our conversation, just look for the link and get on Zoom, and you'll be in here with us. We are Crooked River Radio. We are the Radioactive show. We're here every Sunday night from about 7 till about 9 o'clock, give or take. If the topics get going good, so we might extend it a little bit, but we're pretty much here from 7 to 9 each Sunday evening, and then we're available on Spreaker probably within a day or so after that. It takes me about an hour to edit this stuff and get it ready to put up there. We have just put up, I think it was 4 new podcasts over the weekend of different things. Look for Crooked River Media, and you'll find us there. Anyway, let's introduce our guests this evening. From the top, we have Miss Flora. Good evening, Flora.
I'm not a guest.
Guest host. You're a host. You're a hostess.
I'm a
hostess with the mostess.
I'm a
and Happy Mother's Day.
Permanent fixture. Thank you. Thank you for the Happy Mother's Day. But I am a permanent fixture. I'm not a guest.
Okay, we have my co-host and co-partner in life. How about that one?
Okay, whatever.
We have Miss Flora, and joining us for the third time now? Good God, this is going to be a habit. Good evening, Beth.
Oh, good evening, and Happy Mother's Day, Flora.
Miss Beth Roose.
Happy Mother's Day to you too, hon.
Author extraordinaire and the person responsible for this topic tonight.
You can all on me, okay?
That's right. And to her left or right or whichever is Mr. Dale Miracle. Good evening, Dale.
Growing up watching the Hollywood Squares, I never thought either that or the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And let's go down below him. We have Mr. Erik Nanarone. Good evening, Erik.
What's up, everyone?
Not much. How about you?
Nothing much.
Ready to talk about folklore?
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, last but not least, but he's always last because he hardly ever shows up here, but we won't go into that. But we got him into Zoom now, so he's here, and he'll be here as often as he can be. What's the matter, Flora?
You forgot Melanie.
I'm not there yet.
Oh.
Just
she was getting upset. She was giving
just hang in there a minute, child.
She was getting grumpy.
She's become a part of the group too. Anyway, good evening, Mr. Brown.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm not doing too badly. How about yourself?
I'm here quite often. You don't give me enough credit.
How do you like the Zoom?
I like it. That was why I think that was the reason I wasn't here last week. Was because you switched to Zoom and I only had Skype, and I couldn't deal with
eventually
stuff. But it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Eventually, the plan is to put the phone line back in here, and it'll be on Skype, so that I can do. If somebody all they have is Skype, they can actually still get in.
So we'll do Skype and Zoom.
Yeah, it'll be Skype and Zoom as soon as I can get it figured out how we can configure it. And anyway, our guest this evening, if you want to call it that, and my daughter, I guess she wants to see her stepmother. She sure as hell don't want to see me.
Hi, Melanie.
We have Melanie Yusko. Good evening, dear.
Good evening.
And how are you?
Happy Mother's Day, Mom Flora. And happy Mother's Day, Beth.
Oh, thank you. Same to you.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Melanie. I almost bought myself a new wine glass today. I was over at Giant Eagle, and they had this huge one. I mean, it was like this big. It was plastic, but it was like this big.
Yeah, that's just all you
It said something about, I'll have another one. And it was a Mother's Day present. That's what it was. I almost bought it for myself, but I didn't.
Like those ones that hold the whole bottle.
Hammered.
What's that now? There was 3 of you at once, I think.
What was that, John? You're the one I didn't hear.
I said, there's Flora. She's always worried about getting hammered.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get hammered tonight. I already did it once where I didn't be able to work the next day, so at least for a half an hour anyway. So don't need to be doing that right now.
Let me show y'all something here.
Yeah.
I'm going to partake tonight.
I'm so jealous.
Well, Beth, I'm sorry.
I know.
You had your chance.
I know.
I would have actually made you one tonight. I mean, I just didn't know last time.
We'll have it here next time.
I bought...
that reminds me. We do have a special event coming up next week, don't we, dear?
Saturday at 2.
Saturday at 2 p.m. We're going to start a new podcast, of which is called...
Bonnie was talking about her anniversary. I was going to say, wait a minute. No, that's not for another couple weeks yet.
You've got 18 days for that. Actually, 14
That's what
days.
I'm thinking.
2 weeks.
Oh, that looks
2
good.
weeks from today.
It's terrible when you can't eat or drink.
We actually, getting back, we have a podcast that's going to start this coming Saturday at 2 p.m., provided the people can get here and nothing happens in the meantime. We will, what are we going to call it, Beth? Like, I don't know.
I don't think we decided.
I was going to say,
I thought it was going to be picture perfect.
Yeah, that's good. Picture perfect. I like that. So, we're going to be talking about, we'll be visiting with authors and filmmakers and illustrators and, telling us their story because, boy, everybody's story is so different and how they got into the business and, and give people tips on how they can get into the business. So,
yeah, that should be, any idea who the first guest is going to be, or you haven't heard nothing
yes. Yet? Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah. That way I can rip it off here and plug it on Facebook and all.
Okay. Our first, I have to get her. I want to make sure I have her name right. She'd kill me if I got it wrong. Okay. Her name is Kim Ann. I don't think she wants us to give her last name, but she does promotions and marketing, but she also is a writer and filmmaker. She turns all her books into animated films like I do. Hers is a little more low-tech than mine. She uses local everything, and the animation is okay, but whereas I use Hollywood, so Nashville, so it's a screaming difference for me, but for, I guess, the average person, it wouldn't be a big difference. But she's going to walk us through, how hard it is, how many authors there are. I mean, if you go to the Amazon page and type in a book that you like, if you scroll to the bottom, you can actually see what number that book is at. And, I have several of mine that in overall books, it's like 1 million from the top seller plus. But then I have other books in the children's division that are like in the top 200. So, it's humbling when you see those numbers and realize just how hard it is. And it's a full-time job promoting and doing things to bring attention to yourself. And she'll go through, all of that and the struggles along with that.
Yeah, I can sure relate to that as far as...
Uh-oh, can't hear you. You're on mute.
No, it shouldn't be. I can sure relate to that as far as
Still muted.
Why are we muted here?
Can you hear me?
Talking about us, Melanie.
Hello, test.
He muted everybody but us.
I know.
He's a malevolent dictator.
I was going to say, I'm
There, we're back.
There we go.
We clicked a button that shouldn't have been clicked.
Uh-oh.
Now, whoever was calling him a dictator, stop it.
I'm just waiting to hear from John. Come on, John. I know. Go
I
ahead.
recommended to the leadership of this station over and over that this board operator needs to be fired.
Without this board operator, there wouldn't be no station.
I keep telling them, once we go back live, without this whole COVID thing and social distancing.
You're more than welcome to sit in the chair anytime you're ready. I've told you that a lot of times.
John and I talked about, we really think we all ought to know how to do it anyway.
I think so, too. It's that old thing like we were talking about with the club today. Nobody's going to be around forever, and if I am not here for some reason or another, there's no reason that the show couldn't go on.
So we all know that.
What was that?
Awesome.
What'd you say, John?
I said eventually she's going to push him in front of a bus, and I'm going to have to operate that.
No.
Yeah, I keep pushing it.
No. You know what's really funny? When we got married back in 2008, May of 2008, and we had to talk to the union guy that was in charge of benefits to sign us up for the life insurance. This guy says, just be sure if you decide to knock him off, put him on ice in the back of your truck for a year. He says you're going to need to. It was just like, oh my God. Yeah, they really liked Pat, didn't they? Go ahead, knock him off.
John.
It was funny.
John, I think the echo happens when the
echo is happening because of
Flora.
I must have the camera on her or the mic on her camera turned on. I'm going to have to fix that. Because every time I switch, it switches input.
It goes away right after it.
Because I turn it off. Here, I can make it happen.
Oh.
See?
That also has the ability to make you sound like you're announcing a game at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, can you hear that? Now batting number 47.
I like it. I don't think the listeners would like that for 2 hours, though. Here,
that should be the way you introduce us, Pat.
Yep, there you go. There you go, Erik.
Okay, let's try this. Now joining us is Erik Nanarone.
Isn't he the banana man?
Oh, boy.
you can't do it that way. You go, Erik Nanarone.
Okay, John, do that again. I'll shut up.
Introducing Erik Nanarone.
It only does it for Pat. You probably have to be in studio, John.
I gotta be in studio.
Oh, well, I heard it over here. It echoed like a bear. Anyway, getting back to the subject, the show's going to be 2 to 3 p.m., right?
Yes.
And it will be Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Yep.
Should be a lot of fun. Hope you all tune in. We're going to put it on, it'll be on the Spreaker platform as soon as we get it done, which we'll distribute it to all the other stuff that we're on. There's like 10 different platforms. So please tune in if you can. Let's go to back to the subject of Bigfoot and all of that. I'm doing that thing again. That drives me nuts. I keep trying to stop doing that.
Well, I think the weirdest one of all that I've seen or heard about is that Loveland Frogman. Come on. He's 3 foot tall and he waves a wand over his head to scare people. My Jimmy Paul the Pug Tooth Fairy would be scarier than him. So I don't know. I don't think I believe that. 2 to 3 foot tall, comes out of the Little Miami River. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Looks like a frog.
I think alcohol had to have been involved.
Yeah, there we go. You know, that was kind of like when I was in Vermont and I was trying to see Bessie. You know, and I got out on the boat, had 5 martinis, and dang it, I still couldn't see her. So.
Well, maybe it was a bunch of people hanging out on the river there, you know, having a couple, and they saw what they thought was the Frogman.
Yeah, they were out gigging and looking. That's what they came up with.
Where was this supposed to be out of?
These are all in Ohio.
Well, let her say where the Frogman's from.
Oh, Frogman, go ahead.
Yeah, Frogman's Loveland, Ohio. And the first sighting of him was like way back in 1955, so...
I got a bit. Let's take and play that so that everybody understands what we're talking about here.
Okay.
And we'll. This actually, the first one I'm going to play actually has 5 different creatures in it that were in Ohio and talks about them. It's about a 5-minute bit. So let's roll that, and we'll be back on the other side. You're listening to Radioactive on the Crooked River Radio Network.
In this video, I'm going to tell you about 5 mythological creatures said to be lurking here in the woodlands of Ohio, so stay tuned. I am Makalawanos Pequinot. You can call me Yankee, and welcome to the channel, Yankee's Outdoor Adventures, inspiring you to get outdoors and find your adventure. This video is not to debate whether or not these stories are true. I leave that up to you. Fact or fiction, you decide. Number 1, Frogman. Now, this story has been told many different ways, but through the research that I've done, I found one thing that they all had in common, and it started back in 1955 when this young man, who was left unnamed, was traveling through Loveland, Ohio, when he seen these 3 figures standing alongside the road. Now, what's odd about that, you might ask? These figures had skin like leather and faces like frogs. But that's not all. They were each holding a wand that they were waving over their heads, and that scared the traveler so much he got out of there in a hurry. The sightings, they've continued for decades, with the most recent one being in 2016. Number 2, the Crosswick Monster. Now, just 20 miles from Loveland, where the Frogman is, a sighting of the Crosswick Monster took place over 200 years ago. But why I think it is such an extraordinary story to tell is because over 60 townspeople not only claim to have seen it, but to have captured it. As the story goes, 2 young boys were down by the creek when this massive serpent-like creature come upon them. It had arms and it snatched up one of the boys and it took off with him in a hurry towards this large tree, what was presumed to be his den. The townspeople gathered together to capture the serpent. Luckily, it dropped the boy before it went into the hole and they were able to tell where the hole was. Now, the townsmen, they chopped down the tree and and they captured the creature, reported it to be over 12 foot tall when it busted through a fence and escaped again into a cavern. Now, it hasn't been seen for over 200 years. Number 3, the Cedar Bog Monster. It was in 1942 when the Cedar Bog was designated a nature preserve, and from that time on, this legend began. An ape-like creature, much like a Bigfoot, was spotted in this area. Now, he does have a lot of similarities to Bigfoot, although if you're in the area of the nature preserve, it is definitely the Cedar Bog Monster you will be hearing about. Now, the story really took off once a couple of teenagers got lost in the bog and were never found. After that, the authorities had constructed a fence. They claimed that this large fence was constructed to A, keep people from wandering into the bog and getting lost, and B, is to keep wildlife from wandering out and into the road. Although if you're in the area, locals will tell you that that fence was constructed just to keep the monster in. Number 4, the Ohio Dogman. Now, the Ohio Dogman has been spotted all over Ohio in several counties, including the county I live in. The Ohio Dogman's often confused with the Michigan Dogman, but I'm here to tell you through the last couple decades, it has been seen in multiple places all around Ohio. The Dogman is described to be anywhere from 4 to 6 foot tall with dog-like features, extremely muscular, dark hair, sometimes considered to have grayish or even pinkish colored skin. The Dogman is known to be on all fours at times and other times walk on 2 legs. The Dogman has been seen as recently as 2016. Number 5, the GrassMan. Have you ever seen a 3-toed footprint in Cuyahoga Valley National Forest? If so, you may have been hot on the trail of the Ohio GrassMan. The Ohio GrassMan, dubbed the East Coast Bigfoot, is claimed to have a little bit different looks than a Bigfoot. They claim he is more human and featured, and he has a shorter size, although a muscular build. Now, the GrassMan's most identifying feature, he's cloaked in a field of grass. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This video wasn't here to confirm the belief of mythological creatures. However, if searching for a creature like this gets you outdoors to find your adventure, then I hope you get out there and start looking tomorrow. Hey, until our trails meet again, I hope all your adventures are awesome. Winishita for watching, and Lopichkanao.
Article in the chat about Dogman. If anybody wants to check that out as we're talking.
Okay. What'd you guys think? Have you ever seen the...
to me.
Have you ever seen...
You know, at the Cuyahoga Valley National Park for the GrassMan, one of the things that the park did, which was really strange, was Icebox Cave. I used to be able to walk in there for years and years, and my dad and his brother used to hunt the ledges. But at any rate, they put a huge, big iron gate across it. And I mean, it's not a little gate. It looks like it could hold Fort Knox. It's that strange.
Wow.
When I was at the covered bridge taking pictures, I was waiting for the client to come, and I walked over to the left of the bridge where they have that other little platform so you can actually see the river and the bridge from the side. It's better for taking pictures. But there's like this grass moat in the middle, or I mean, right before you walk onto that platform. And the moat was all trampled down and scrubbed up to like, it looked like a bedding area. So at first I thought, well, that must be deer that bedded down there. But that looked awful strange. So I don't know. I might be a believer in the Ohio GrassMan. I don't think I'll walk the park by myself anymore.
Yeah, I don't think I would either.
It's just, you know, when you watch Monster Quest and Mountain Monsters and all those people who come to Ohio to film, Buck had that encounter with the Ohio GrassMan. Of course, they found that the moonshiners down there were getting them drunk, leaving out mash for them. So, I don't know, looked pretty real. So, no way am I walking that park by myself.
As far as that, I gotta turn something down here. I'm hearing myself echo. There, that's better. As far as the GrassMan goes, I didn't up until now. I remember hearing about that. I think the one about the time I was hearing about the Peninsula Python, I might have heard about the GrassMan thing. I'll tell you, I don't know if I should mention his name, but Don from Facebook, from our class. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was the one that filled me in on the python. It's been a long, long time ago.
It wouldn't surprise me if he saw it.
But I remember stories. It seems to me that it was like him and 2 or 3 other the guys that he used to hang around with. Where
he's with the bad boy crowd.
They would talk about it all the time in there.
Yep.
But it's been a long time. I don't really remember even much of what I heard. The only thing I can still equate to is that flipping chicken head, chicken head story. But if you listen to that song that I played in the beginning, that might have explained some of it. That thing was just going after chickens.
Python would eat it. That would be something that they would consume. And supposedly the python, it was a circus in town, and the truck tipped over, and several creatures escaped, and that was one of them. So realistically, it could happen, but it's brutal here in the winter. So I don't know how a python could.
Yeah, I don't know how it would be able to stay there.
Right, I just can't picture that. But I can picture the GrassMan for sure. Now, supposedly the GrassMan is supposed to be meaner, but I think that's because those mountain monster people got him drunk on mash. So that could be why.
Did you ever see that commercial with Flo in it?
Oh yes.
Where she's sitting and talking to Bigfoot.
Yes.
My name is Daryl.
Yep. Well,
what did you call me, Bigfoot?
There's lots of creatures in Ohio that are Bigfoot type creatures, and there's the Minerva monster that the description is that of the GrassMan too. So, and I've heard a lot about that where people have been frightened off their property, they left and never came back, and I've heard a lot about
I couldn't imagine that. I of course, then again, if I come home and my house was haunted or something like that, I think it would be a difficult choice to actually live here.
Well,
so is the GrassMan like a person?
It's a cryptid, so it's they've never well, I'm sure that if there is one, they have a live specimen, they being the government, especially when Mount Hood erupted, because supposedly that's where the largest concentration of Bigfoot are at, is the Pacific Northwest. So supposedly there were lots of dead bodies of them that the government took, and they captured a couple too. So who knows? It's the government. So
is there supposedly multiple Bigfoot? Like
multiple kinds of Bigfoot. There's the Yeti
like species.
Yeah, there's okay. Like the Yeti from Nepal, and then there's the Ohio GrassMan. West Virginia has one. I forget what they call that one though. The Whistler, the Midnight Whistler.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so they're pretty much. Oh, and then in Florida, they're the skunk ape, and then there's the Fouke monster. So, I think everybody has different names for them, but it's basically of the same family, I think. It's hard to not think that they're real when so many people have seen it, and it's just been so many documented cases. It's
kind of like religion.
Hard to not think there's not something.
Kind of like religion.
Yeah. Okay.
So many people believe in religion.
Yeah.
And
did you guys talk about that that article from February yet, or at all?
What article?
In the Akron Beacon Journal about Bigfoot? Oh, no, not yet.
No.
What do you know about it?
I stepped away for a second, but there's a article in the Akron Beacon Journal from February 11th of 2020. 2 Ohio men say they encountered a Bigfoot-like creature at Salt Fork State Park.
Oh, yeah.
And that was this year.
Right. That's supposed to be a hotbed down there at Salt Fork. My parents used to live in Mount Pleasant, Ohio, and their property was not far from the Salt Fork, and they had stories of their deer feeders and that being tipped over. And I mean, these are heavy, big barrels, and they would find them in the neighbor's cow pasture. So they also talked about a couple footprints that they had seen that, who's going to walk in the snow in bare feet and have a size, 20 foot. So
yeah, that's even bigger than mine.
If you were being attacked by the GrassMan, would you just use a weed eater?
Oh, I love it. I love that. I don't know what I would do. Supposedly they talk. It sounds like gibberish. But I've also seen reports where they can say words, the English words. So I don't know what to believe. I don't know what I would do. I'd probably be shocked, and I don't know. I might just stand there, and I might be sorry for that. So
I think it's a whole bunch of malarkey personally, but what I will say is if they do exist, I would highly doubt if they spoke any kind of language that we would at least understand.
Yeah, that's why I said it's gibberish sounding is what it's reported.
I mean, it wouldn't be English, I can tell you that. It would be, they may have some kind of language that they use, but have you guys ever seen the children's movie Smallfoot?
Is that based on the book Sid the Sasquatch? I've seen that.
Well, no, I don't know for sure. It's called Smallfoot.
Yeah, I think that's Sid the Sasquatch. Yeah.
I don't know. It's in like Nepal.
Yes.
And they're up on the mountain. Mm-hmm. They have like their own little like society because in the past they were like pretty much, hunted by the Smallfoot, they called them. And it shows them up in the mountain, and one of the humans goes up there to explore something and ends up finding them. And it was no, you know what it was? It was the Bigfoot came down to bring a Smallfoot up to the mountain because as generations went on, the Bigfoot didn't even know that we had existed, and the one Bigfoot knew that we existed, but no one believed him. So he went down the mountain, pretty much kidnapped one, and brought
is a production of Crooked River Media.